Hey there, you fellers and fell nuts. So I picked this beauty up. This is a McLane 20-inch reel mower. This thing was sitting in my grandma's basement, and I don't ever remember my grandmother cutting her own grass. So I'm 27 years old. My best guess is that this thing has probably been sitting for close to 20 years. It's got gas in it, which is obviously varnished at this point. And somebody just pulled up in front of my house. Very strange. So yeah, like I said, this thing's probably been sitting for close to 20 years. The gas is extremely varnished. I already pulled the cap off the gas can and checked it, and it's gone. So there's no chance right now that this thing runs. So before I even think about trying to get it to run, I'm gonna pull this gas can or this fuel tank off, empty it out, clean it out real good. I picked up a new carburetor for it. So you can pick up these carburetors for like $20 on Amazon. So I picked up a new carburetor for it, and we're gonna throw a new carburetor on it and see what happens. So I've got to figure out how this whole situation works. This is a very strange carburetor. I've never seen one like this before. It doesn't have a bowl on it. The carburetor bowl is the fuel tank. It's got some pickup tubes that run down in it. So I've never seen that before, but I guess it's a thing. It's got the 3.5 horse Briggs & Stratton on it, which is the less sought after motor, but I paid $0 for this thing, so I'm not complaining at all. Now that comes off there. Doesn't look like they made this thing easy to work on. If y'all know the smell of varnished gas, this thing currently reeks like varnished gas. I guess that air filter was holding a lot of smell in. It's raining outside right now, which is why I'm working in the garage. But I gotta get my storage situation figured out. I've got a plan. I just haven't gotten to doing it yet. So you may be asking, why did I take this reel mower if I've got the big John Deere behind me that you see? And there's a couple answers to that question. Number one, I highly doubt that thing's going to be ready to go this season. And I want to reel mow the front yard from day one. And number two is I've got some tight areas that I don't think that I'm going to be able to get around on that big mower. So this is going to serve as kind of my trim mower. I'll do a few passes around the outside of the yard with this before I jump on the big one. And then I'm also going to use it pretty much this whole season until that one's up and running. I need a couple wrenches. Probably a ½ inch. Oh, it's 3/8. So it looks like I've got to take everything off before I can get this gas tank off, including the muffler. So I'm pulling the muffler off right now. Do y'all think engineers get a kick out of designing stuff so tight that you gotta really struggle with it? Or do you think they're just too dumb to know? I got gas can and the carburetor off. Now I've got to get this carburetor popped loose from this can. I don't see any bolts that I'm missing. I think it's just welded itself on there with varnished gas. I'm gonna empty this gas out into my drain pan over here. I'm gonna get my hammer and see if I can knock this thing loose maybe by giving it a couple taps. I don't know if that did anything at all or not. So this is what I mean. There's no real bowl on this carburetor. There is kind of a bowl integrated into this fuel tank that this thing sits down in, but it's a strange design. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but it's a compact design, so I guess that's why Briggs & Stratton did it. So this is electrical contact cleaner. It's really isn't the best thing for the job, but that's what I got. Try and get the goop out of this bowl here. And then for the actual fuel tank, I'm going to dump some fresh gas down in here and swish it all around and try and get all that crap cleaned out. Try and show y'all down in there. I don't know if it's going to work out. So that's the bowl that I was talking about. It's kind of got a bowl built into the tank. Alright, so y'all can see down in there all the crap. So I'm going to pour some fresh gasoline down in here and swish it around and see if we can get that stuff to go away. So I got this tank cleaned out pretty well. So I'm going to pop open this new carburetor. Hopefully it's got everything I need and it's the right one. And if it is, we'll throw it on here and see what happens. I will say, though this thing was a pain in the ass to get to, at least it only had two tools that I needed, which was a flathead screwdriver and a 3/8 inch wrench. So this looks to be the right thing to me. It's got the two pickup tubes on it. Everything looks the same. It did come with a new gasket, which is good. Well, shit. It is not the same carburetor. It's similar, but it ain't the same thing. So I guess let me see if I can find a part number on here so that I can get the right one ordered. It looks very similar, but it is not the same thing. Alright fellas, we're back working on the McLane today. And the first thing I'm going to do is I've decided that I want to try and get the rust out of this gas tank. There's not a ton, but I think it'd be beneficial. So what I'm going to do is give it a little acid soak. Start with some water. I'll rinse this bucket out. But you can use vinegar for this. Vinegar is probably the most common thing that people use. I've got some muriatic acid that we use in the pool when the pH is no good. So I'm going to use a little bit of this. This is much stronger than vinegar, so you don't need much. That's why I'm putting a bunch of water in here first. Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of this in here. That's probably more than enough. And then try not to splash this stuff around. There wasn't much in here. So I've got probably 2 gallons of water, 1/4 gallon of muriatic acid, and I'm going to set the tank down in there, see if we can't get this little bit of rust that's down in this tank to dissolve. And we'll let this soak. I need a little more water in here to get up over the top. So I'm going to let that soak for probably 20-30 minutes. And then we'll come back out and check and see what it's looking like. I've got it oriented so that I can see the rust on it. So I should be able to just visually look down in there and tell what's going on, whether it needs more time or not. But it should clear it up pretty quick, and then once that's done, I got the new carburetor in that actually fits, so we'll throw that on, put it back on here, dry this out really good, put some some fresh gas in it and see if it'll fire up. So I'll see you guys in about 20-30 minutes. Alrighty, I got the gas tank pretty well cleaned out. It's not perfect, but it's certainly a hell of a lot better than it was. Now let me open it up and hope this is the correct carburetor. Alrighty, so this pin right here is bent on the original one, so I'm bending it on this one. No, it appears that our pickup tube is too long. So you can see the difference in height in the pickup tube. So I gotta see if that's modifiable. So that's just a press fit in there. I bet I can just cut off, what is that, like an inch? So sticking out, we've got 4 1/4. And sticking up in there, we had 3/8. Is that 4 1/4 or 4 1/2? 4 1/4. 4 1/4 plus 3/8 is 4 and, what is that, 5/8? So 4 5/8. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. And then hopefully we can get that sucker in there. I just broke my cutoff wheel though, so I got to figure out how I'm going to cut this. Tore all the shit. It's not horrible. I'm gonna get a piece of sandpaper and sand this down, and I think we'll be all right. All right. There we go. That's in there. Back down in here. Yep. All right. You see, it's got a nice tight fit now. So that's good to go. Throw this gasket on here, and I'm actually gonna, this kind of falls out now. I'm gonna pinch the end just a little bit so that it's a little bit out around. I don't know if y'all could even see that. Squeeze it just a little bit, and then it will hold itself in there with friction. There we go. Yep, that one goes there. Got our gasket in. I'm going to throw the screws back in here, and then we'll get ready to mount this back onto the mower. So we got carb mounted up here. I realized about halfway through this that the air filter mount is different, so I'm gonna have to figure that out, but not the end of the world. So I'm gonna put this fuel tank back on here, and we'll put some fuel in it and see what happens. It's not easy to put this sucker back together, I'll tell you that much. It wasn't easy taking it apart either. There's this. That's gonna go like that. And then I gotta get this tank on here and that gasket all at the same time. And not drop anything. I just need like one thread. All right, got that one started so I can breathe a little bit. My fingers are too dumb to do this. Too big and too dumb. Doesn't help that it's 100% humidity and 94 out here right now. And I'm in the garage, so it's probably hotter than that. Alright, I gotta go take care of the baby. So I'll pick this back up in just a moment. But as y'all can see, we got a carburetor on there. And gotta tighten this bolt down. But beyond that, we're making progress. So catch you guys in a bit. So I finished this carburetor install. What I found after doing some research is that these engines were commonly used on all kinds of different applications, whether it was lawnmowers like this one, generators, air compressors, log splitters, you know, whatever else you can think of that uses a small engine like this. So the carburetors, the main body of the carburetor is like the same stamped part no matter what the application was. The linkages on it vary widely, and I could not find one that had the proper linkage for this setup that we've got here. So I did a little bit of redneck engineering to get it to work. So I stole, this is a throttle linkage, I stole it off of the old carburetor, and the hole was there, so I just screwed it back on. No big deal. The big part I had to change is on this choke lever. There was a spring down at the bottom, and this arm has detents in the bottom of it, so that you would turn the choke and it would stay wherever you put it. The way this one is set up is that when you hit the throttle all the way, the choke closes. So I had to remove that spring detent, and the old one, the choke arm and the choke plate were two separate pieces. So there was a spring that went behind the choke arm that automatically opened it back up, you know, like that when you're not holding the choke anymore. This one, the throttle or the clutch arm and the plate are like molded together. It's a plastic arm, and then I guess this is, I don't think it's brass, it's brass colored. Choke plate are all molded together, so there's no way to pull the arm out and get that spring behind there. So I took the spring that was behind the other one and kind of jerry-rigged it, redneck engineered it to this bolt, and then through the hole on this choke arm, so that when you're not on the choke, it opens back up. The other major difference is the airbox style. Couldn't find one of these either. I searched and searched. Has a I guess a screw or a bolt that comes straight up through here. The air cover sits on. This one is made for a box style air filter that screws down in here and back here. So I'm going to have to pick up a different air filter for it. But beyond that, this is on. It's calibrated correctly. The governor works. So I'll fire it up and show you guys that it works. Takes a few pulls. The throttle works. Throttle it down and shut it off. So that's all up and running now. Like I said, I gotta pick up an airbox for it, but today I picked up a upgrade. Picked up a reel roller from realrollers.com. So we're gonna throw that on. We're gonna back lap this, and then I may try and cut in the backyard just to see what kind of cut we're getting. So like I said, here's the box. I picked this up from realrollers.com. I got a roller and a back lap kit. And I've never seen anybody install one of these, so I have no idea how this is going to go. There's the roller. I got the grooved variety, mostly because the John Deere is grooved, and I didn't want that to be any kind of factor in height of cut differences or anything like that. So I got the groove variety. And here's the back lap kit. There's no instructions with this, but it seems fairly self-explanatory. Looks like we got a nut and a bolt that need to come out of this. And we should be able to pull this thing off of here. Looks like a nut on each side with a piece of all thread running through it actually.
When I put this back, I'm going to put it at the lowest setting, which is currently not set at.
Alright, so that's off. This mower's so old, it's like they changed the size by a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm bending that out just a little bit, and then when we put the nut back on there, it'll suck it in. Got it. All right. That's obviously how it goes up and down. But I'm running into this stud right here. Again, I think this is a result of this being a older design. Maybe the new ones had a captured nut on the inside or something like that. But I think I may be able to take this off, flip it around, and that'll clear that bolt. So that's what I'm going to try. It's an Allen wrench. All right. I don't exactly love the way that adjusts, but it adjusts now. I just slid it out on the shaft, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch probably. And that got it to a point where it'll adjust. Now I gotta get this spring back on. There we go. So that's all the way down now. That's all the way up. I guess technically that would be all the way down. Be a scalp setting. Yeah, so that's done. Next step is going to be to back lap this thing. So I got to pull these 2 bolts off of this cover. Oh, there's a little bit of adjustment left in this rail. We'll see. When I get this done, I'm going to take this to the backyard, which is mostly weeds right now, and just do a couple passes with it and see what happens. I don't want to go too much because I don't have an air filter on here. I do want to see how it cuts. Now there should be, there's a master link. Flying. This chain needs a good cleaning. That's a project for another day though. Put all my parts in here. And that spins freely. And this should be all my backlap stuff. I've got this sprocket and this backlapping adapter. We'll put our drill on here. And while it's spinning, we'll brush this backlapping compound on there. So hopefully I can do both things at one time, but we shall see. So I'm going to get this going and then switch to one hand. Reverse. So you spin this in reverse, that's why it's called backlapping. I've got it backlapped. I'm going to wash all this backlapping compound off now. Try to not break my wrist in the process of doing this.
Time is it? Okay. We'll put this back together, I'll go shower and we'll be done. What? You have a fever? You have a fever? What is it? When can you take 98? When can you take Motrin again? When? Well, give it a little bit of time to kick in. I'll put this back on, I'll come shower and we'll check it again. I don't feel like getting up to grab my socket, so I got tightened down with a pair of pliers. It's not really final tightening. I'm gonna need my socket to do that. But I didn't see it. Oh, it's right here. I could grab it.
Hey there, fellers and fell nuts. So, I've got the McLane back here in my weed yard. This area is originally where I planted my Bermuda grass and found out issues with it, and rather than try to treat it and overseed it, I decided that this was going to be kind of a testing grounds for attacking doveweed, because there's doveweed all over this property and all in my soil and all that, so it's a problem that I'm going to continue to have, so I wanted to figure out how to treat it. Sprayed this area actually with glyphosate and still have doveweed in it. So I've got a couple other things that I'm going to try so we can address that, but the real reason I'm back here is to see if the old McLane will cut. I don't know if this grass is short enough to cut or not, but I'm gonna start it up and try it. Alrighty. Let's see. Not too bad considering how long this grass was. So I think I'm getting a little bit of floating out of this thing, which is kind of to be expected because of how thick this grass is, or how thick this doveweed is. But it cuts and it actually stripes even on doveweed. So hopefully you guys can see that. So if y'all are looking for a grass that stripes decently well, grows in warm climates, and grows like weed but looks like crap, sounds like doveweed is the answer to your question. But this is what the final product looks like. Cut quality is good. Got the reel cutting paper the other day. I spent a little bit more time messing with it. So it cuts paper, cuts grass, and does pretty good. I gotta play with the throttle and governor. It seems like the engine's not revving up as high as it should. But beyond that, I'm pretty happy with the way this whole thing turned out. So if you guys liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave me a like and consider subscribing. So I'll see you guys again next week. Thanks.